The first time I thought my husband was cheating on me, I hated myself for even thinking it. Marcus had always been the kind of man other women noticed instantly. Calm voice, clean smile, expensive cologne that stayed in a room long after he left it. For 11 years, he had been my safest place. That was exactly why the change terrified me. It started with tiny things. Late-night phone calls he suddenly took outside. Random work trips that appeared without warning. A second phone he claimed belonged to his office. At first I ignored every sign because I trusted him more than I trusted my own instincts. Every time my mind whispered something suspicious, I forced myself to stay quiet. But secrets always change people. You notice them in silence first. Marcus stopped laughing during dinner. He started sleeping closer to the edge of the bed. Some nights he stared at the ceiling for hours, thinking I was asleep beside him. Then came the lies. Tiny lies. The dangerous kind that sound harmless. I'm working late. My phone died. My boss needs me downtown. Little excuses stacked together until they became a wall between us. Still, I kept convincing myself I was overthinking. We had built a beautiful life together. We had memories in every room of that house. Friends called us the perfect couple. I couldn't accept that perfection might only be performance. It was raining that Friday night when Marcus left the house after dinner. He said a coworker needed help with a work emergency. I remember standing near the kitchen sink, watching raindrops slide slowly down the window while he grabbed his keys without even looking at me. That feeling returned again. The feeling women are taught to ignore. My chest tightened the second the front door closed. 10 minutes later, I grabbed my coat and followed him. I stayed 3 cars behind him the entire drive, terrified he would notice me. Rain covered the streets, but Marcus drove confidently through neighborhoods I barely recognized. He crossed downtown, passed the highway exit, and entered a quiet area on the opposite side of the city. Then he parked. Not outside a hotel. Not outside a nightclub. A house. A normal blue house with warm lights glowing through the windows. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tightly my fingers hurt. My heartbeat sounded louder than the storm outside. Every terrible possibility rushed through my mind at once. Another woman. Another affair. Another betrayal. But what I saw next was far worse. The front door opened before Marcus even reached the porch. 2 little children came running outside screaming his name, Daddy. Froze completely. My entire world stopped breathing, because standing behind those children was a woman holding a baby in her arms. And the way Marcus kissed her looked nothing like a mistake. It looked practiced, comfortable, real. I sat there shaking inside my car while rain slammed against the windshield. My brain kept searching for another explanation, another version of reality where my marriage still existed. Maybe she was his cousin. Maybe those kids belonged to someone else. Maybe I was misunderstanding everything. Wait. Then Marcus lifted the smallest child into his arms. And the little girl smiled before saying words that destroyed me forever. Mommy said you were coming home tonight. In that moment, I realized the man sleeping beside me every night had been living 2 different lives, and one of them was built on lies. That night, I didn't move for several minutes. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely feel the steering wheel anymore. Through the rain, I kept watching that house, a house that looked so ordinary from the outside but was clearly hiding an entire life I knew nothing about. I should have driven away right then, but something inside me refused to let go of what I had just seen. I told myself there had to be an explanation, a misunderstanding, a coincidence, anything other than what my heart already knew. Marcus was living another life. I watched him through the window as he sat down on the porch steps with that woman. She leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then she said something that made him smile, a smile I had not seen in months. That smile used to belong to me. My chest tightened as I realized I was not just watching a betrayal. I was watching a routine. A life he had clearly rehearsed again and again. The children ran around him like they had done this 100 times before. No hesitation, no confusion, just comfort. And that was the moment the truth started to feel heavier than the rain outside. I wanted to scream. I wanted to open the door and drag him back into the life he had with me. But I didn't, because something even more terrifying was forming inside my mind. What if this was not an affair? What if this was not a mistake? What if this was something far more permanent? I stayed in the car until my body stopped feeling like my own. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I turned the ignition back on and drove away. The drive home felt longer than anything I had ever experienced. Every streetlight felt like it was judging me. Every turn reminded me of the life I thought I had. When I finally reached home, I sat in the driveway for a long time. The house looked exactly the same, but everything inside me was different. I walked inside quietly. Marcus was not there yet. That gave me time to breathe, or at least try. Looked around the living room, noticing things I had ignored for years. Photos, routines, small habits that suddenly felt like clues. How long had this been happening right in front of me? I opened his closet slowly. Everything was still perfectly in place, but now it all felt like a disguise. I closed it and stepped back. My phone buzzed on the table. Marcus, coming home soon, love. I stared at those words for a long time. Love, he said. Love while building another family in another house across the city. My hands tightened around the phone, and for the first time in 11 years, I did not know if I still recognized the man I had married. I sat there in silence, feeling something inside me shift completely. It was not just pain anymore, it was clarity. The door outside opened suddenly. Marcus had come home. His footsteps echoed through the hallway, and in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything between us forever. The moment Marcus stepped inside, I studied him differently. Same face, same calm expression. Same man I had kissed goodbye every morning for years. But now I saw something else beneath it, something I had been blind to for too long. A man living two versions of his life without ever letting one touch the other. Hey, he said casually, loosening his coat like nothing in the world was wrong. Traffic was crazy tonight. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so normal. Too normal. The kind of normal that only exists when someone has perfected their lies. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I can imagine. My voice didn't even sound like mine. He walked past me toward the kitchen, opening the fridge like a routine had not just been shattered in my mind. That's when something inside me snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, like glass finally reaching its breaking point. I followed him, Marcus, I said. But he didn't turn around right away. That hesitation told me everything. Yes, he replied, still pretending. That word pretending was all I could think about. I stepped closer. My heartbeat was loud in my ears, but my voice stayed surprisingly steady. Where were you really tonight? Silence, not confusion, not shock. Silence, like he had already prepared for this moment one day. He finally turned around. And for the first time since I had known him, I saw something new in his eyes. Not guilt. Control. What are you talking about? He asked. That was when I knew. He wasn't going to confess easily. I took out my phone and held it up. The picture I had taken earlier, the house, the children, the woman in his arms, was still there. My hand shook slightly, but I didn't lower it. His face changed instantly. Not fear. Calculation. He looked at the picture, then back at me. Slowly he exhaled like he was deciding which version of the truth to give me. You followed me, he said quietly. It wasn't a question. It was an observation. Yes, I replied. I did. Another pause. Then he did something I never expected. He sat down. Like the conversation had already been won in his mind. You shouldn't have seen that, he said. That sentence hit harder than anything else, because it didn't deny it. It confirmed it. My knees felt weak, but I didn't sit. So it's true, I whispered. You have another family. He rubbed his forehead slowly, like I was the problem he needed time to solve. It's complicated, he said, those two words. It's complicated. It's the most dangerous lie in any marriage. I stepped back slightly, shaking my head. No, Marcus, it's not complicated. It's simple. You were living two lives. For the first time, his calm broke slightly. You don't understand, he said. But I was done listening. Because in that moment, I realized something even worse than betrayal. He didn't see what he did as wrong, saw it as manageable. And that meant the story was far from over. I looked at him and felt something shift inside me again this time. Not pain, but determination. Then explain it to me, I said quietly. All of it. And the way he looked at me next told me the truth was going to destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned back on the couch like he was preparing for a conversation he had rehearsed too many times in his mind. That alone made my stomach turn. But this wasn't shock for him. This was strategy. You followed me, he repeated again, softer this time. I already told you I did, I said. Stop delaying it. A long silence stretched between us. The house suddenly felt too quiet, like even the walls were listening. Then he finally spoke. What you saw is not what you think it is. I let out a short, bitter breath. Then explain it to me in a way that makes sense, Marcus. Because I saw your children call you Dad. I saw a woman live with you like your wife. His jaw tightened, and for the first time, he looked tired. I'm guilty. Just tired. They are my family, he said finally. Those words hit me like a physical shock. I shook my head immediately. No, I am your family. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes terrified me more than anger ever could. It didn't start the way you think, he said quietly. That sentence again, another layer, another excuse. I crossed my arms tightly, and start from the beginning. He hesitated. Then he started talking at first. I didn't plan for it to become this. I stood still, forcing myself to listen, even though every word felt like it was breaking something inside me. I met her years ago, he continued, before things got complicated between us, before us, as if our marriage had a timeline of before and after. She was going through something, he said. I helped her. That's it. Nothing more at first. I let him speak, but my mind was already screaming. Nothing more at first. That's how every lie begins. He rubbed his hands together nervously now, a crack in his control finally showing. Then life changed. Things happened. She had nowhere to go. The kids. They needed stability. I interrupted sharply. So you gave them a life? I was at home thinking you were working late? He flinched slightly, but didn't deny it. That's not fair, he said. That word again. Fair. Like fairness mattered in betrayal. Can't just reduce it like that, he added quickly. It wasn't planned. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You didn't plan it, Marcus. You built a second home. A second life. You don't accidentally do that. He stood up suddenly, pacing now. You think I had a choice? He said, voice rising slightly. You think life gives you clean decisions? That's when I saw it. Not just lies. Justification. He wasn't just hiding another life. He was defending it. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so it stayed controlled. So what am I in all of this, I asked. A mistake? A side life you forgot to end? He stopped walking. For the first time, he had no answer ready. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I nodded slowly, feeling something cold settle in my chest. You didn't just cheat on me, I said quietly. You replaced me. His eyes widened slightly, but he still didn't deny it. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying. The truth wasn't going to set me free. It was going to destroy everything first. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The silence between Marcus and me wasn't empty anymore. It was heavy, like it had weight. Like it was pressing down on everything we had ever built together. Then I asked the question I had been avoiding since the moment I saw that house. How long? He frowned slightly. What? My voice sharpened. How long has this been going on? Marcus looked away, and that was answer enough. Years, he said finally. That single word made my stomach drop. Not weeks, not months. Years. I felt my throat tighten. While I was sitting in this house, believing you were mine, you were building another life. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing again like movement could escape responsibility. It didn't start like that, he repeated, but this time it sounded weaker, less like an explanation. It's more like a defense he was losing. I stepped closer, my voice shaking now. Stop saying that. Stop trying to make it sound like it just happened. He stopped walking, and for the first time, he didn't interrupt me, so I continued. You didn't just fall into another life, Marcus. You chose it. Every single day you chose it. His jaw tightened.
How? You don't understand the situation. That phrase again.
You don't understand. As if understanding would somehow make betrayal less real. I let out a slow breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Then make me understand, I said. Tell me why your wife wasn't enough. That word wife hit differently now, because suddenly I wasn't sure what that word even meant in my own life anymore. Marcus finally looked at me again, What he said next made my entire body go cold. It's not about you not being enough. I laughed once, sharp and broken. That's exactly what it is. He shook his head quickly. No, you were. My life too. But she. He stopped mid-sentence, like he had revealed too much already. My eyes narrowed. She what? A long pause. Then finally, she needed me in a way you never did. The words hung in the air like poison. I felt something inside me snap, but I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at him. So that's it? I whispered. She needed you. And I didn't. He didn't answer. And that silence hurt more than anything he had said so far. I stepped back slowly, nodding to myself like I was trying to accept a reality I refused to live in. So I was just... Convenience, I said quietly. Comfort, stability, and she was. Escape. Marcus looked uncomfortable now. It's not, but I cut him off. No, don't rewrite it now, I said firmly. You already built your version of truth. I just didn't know I wasn't part of it. For a moment, I thought he might finally break, finally admit everything. But instead, he said something even worse. You're making it sound like I destroyed everything. I stared at him, and something inside me went completely still. Because I realized he still didn't see it. Not fully. Not the way I did. And that meant this wasn't over. Not even close. I turned slowly toward the bedroom, my voice calm but deadly quiet. Marcus, I said without looking back. You didn't destroy everything. I paused at the door. You just made me realize I was never the only one living in this marriage. And with that, I walked away from him, knowing the final truth was still waiting to come out. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Marcus. The house stayed silent, but it wasn't Pasit. It was distance. Two people sharing the same space, but living in completely different realities now. At some point before sunrise, I heard him in the kitchen, glasses moving, water running, normal sounds. But nothing about us was normal anymore. When I walked in, he was sitting at the table like he had been waiting for me. No excuses this time. No rehearsed explanations. Just exhaustion. I need to tell you everything, he said quietly. I didn't sit down. You've been doing that all night? He nodded slightly. Not everything. That made me stop because I could feel it. There was still something underneath all of this. Something he hadn't said yet. He looked down at his hands. I didn't plan to live two lives, he said slowly. But once it started, I couldn't stop it. I crossed my arms. That's not an explanation. That's avoidance. He exhaled sharply, like he was finally dropping the act. She wasn't supposed to become permanent, he admitted. My stomach tightened. She was temporary support, he continued. Someone I helped when she had nothing. But over time, things changed. Things don't just change into a whole second family, I said. He nodded slowly. I know. That honesty hit differently. Because it wasn't denial anymore. It was acceptance. I kept thinking I could manage both lives, he said. I kept telling myself I wasn't hurting anyone as long as no one found out. I let out a cold laugh. So the problem wasn't cheating. I was getting caught. He didn't respond. And that silence answered everything. For a moment I felt something strange inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Clarity, all those late nights. The distance, the lies, the phone, the trips. It all finally made sense, but not in a way that healed anything. In a way that ended it. I looked at him properly for the first time, without emotion clouding my vision. You built two lives, I said calmly. But you forgot something important. He looked up slightly. You can't belong to two families and expect both to survive. That landed heavy. He didn't argue, because there was nothing left to defend. Outside, the morning light started creeping through the windows. The same house, the same walls. But everything inside it had changed forever. I took a slow breath. I'm not asking you to choose anymore, I said. That finally made him look at me fully, because he expected a fight, a demand, something emotional. But I was past that now. I already see your choice, I continued. You made it long ago. You just didn't tell me. His face tightened slightly. What are you saying? I picked up my keys from the table. I'm saying I'm done living in a life where I was never the only truth. Silence. No excuses left. No stories left. Just reality. I walked toward the door, then stopped for a second without turning back. And the final thing I said wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Tell them the truth yourself, Marcus. or don't. But I won't be part of it anymore. Then I left. Not because the story was simple, but because staying in it would have destroyed me slowly instead of all at once. And sometimes, leaving is the only way to survive a truth you can't unsee.